jump right into it. Vivid Seats and fandom. So at Vivid Seats, we think and we talk a lot about fandom because we're in the business of live events. So for those of you who are not familiar with Vivid Seats, we are a leading independent ticket marketplace. So we sell tickets to all sorts of live events: sports, concerts, theater, podcasts, watch parties. We believe that there's nothing like being there live, experiencing it live, being a fan of your favorite artist, your favorite team, being there in the crowd, feeling that excitement, feeling that energy, and that's kind of in our DNA and kind of core to who we are as a company. We are over 20 years old now. We're headquartered in Chicago, and in October 2021, we became a public company. So, woo! Thank you. Can anyone identify this stadium? So there are a lot of red jerseys. I don't know, it's a little hard to tell with the way the screen cuts off. I know we're kind of SEC, ACC country here in South Carolina, a little bit of both, but a lot of red jerseys. That is, of course, as we all know, the University of Notre Dame, South Bend, Indiana. Why is that? On September 9th, 2017, the University of Georgia and their fans and their football team took over Notre Dame Stadium. I remember sitting at my desk 2 days before, so September 7th, 2017, looking at some of our search data, looking at traffic, site traffic, and I knew, one, this was a really hot ticket. This was the first time that the University of Georgia was going to be playing at Notre Dame Stadium, which is like a bucket list event for college football fans, and Georgia has a super passionate fan base. So we knew it was going to be a hot ticket, and we knew there were going to be a lot of people from Georgia at this football game. And so I just kind of casually mentioned it to some coworkers. Wow, there's going to be, a lot of people from Georgia coming. And then over the course of the next few days, things on social media, on Twitter. Wow, a lot of Georgia Bulldogs fans at O'Hare Airport. A lot of Georgia fans at Wrigley Field taking in a Cubs game on Friday. And then come Saturday, the day of the game, wow, a lot of Georgia tailgaters, a lot of Georgia fans here at Notre Dame. So this was like kind of this building story. And then they open the gates, and then this happens. Roughly more Georgia fans at Notre Dame Stadium than Notre Dame fans. And this becomes this dominating story across the sports landscape. Georgia won the football game, but the fallout of that was this massive conversation around Georgia fans, Notre Dame fans, is the SEC superior? Why are Notre Dame fans not showing up? Just this huge story about the crowd. And I thought to myself, we knew this was going to happen. Maybe we didn't know exactly what percentage of the crowd was going to be or what the crowd was going to look like, but we knew that this story that dominated one of the key sectors of our industry, that landscape, everyone was talking about it. We knew this was a thing before it was a thing. We knew this was a story before it was a story. And that idea of a data story originating from search, originating from SEO, maybe paid search for some of you, that idea is how we think search will allow us to, how we will be allowed to win in search moving forward by collaborating with different teams across our company. So I like this chart. It was inspired by a blog from the technical SEO tool OnCrawl, and it speaks to how SEO needs to work effectively and collaborate across different teams in 2023. So in this EAT era of SEO, where expertise, experience, authority, trust, those things matter more than ever, SEO cannot be siloed. You can't be an SEO team doing your thing, removed from all these other disciplines, social PR, brand, partnerships, engineering. SEO needs to be imbued into all of these different practices. And for us, the ability to tell stories with our data is sort of like our foot in the door to collaborate effectively with these teams. And in particular, we call that ability to project crowds at these big sporting events, we call it our fan forecast. And it is a proprietary way that we help tell that story of the crowd, the energy, the excitement, what the fans are going to look like at different sporting events. And Fan Forecast is really successful in helping us work as a search team with our PR team. This is an article from the Philly Voice, and this is about the Super Bowl. Any Chiefs fans in the crowd? No? There you go. Congrats. So heading into the Super Bowl this year, basically when the Super Bowl matchup is decided in a Sunday in January, it gets locked in probably like 7 p.m. on that January 27th Sunday, whatever it is, AFC Championship versus NFC Championship winners. And then that Monday, articles come out. Can you believe how much Super Bowl tickets cost? It's like every year, like we get it, like Super Bowl tickets are expensive. It is a bucket list experience. It's not surprising. It's not interesting. But you know what we think is interesting, is different, is differentiating for us? The ability to say, hey, we believe there will be more Eagles fans at the game than Chiefs fans. And what does that mean, right? What are the implications of that? What if the crowd is louder for the Eagles fans? Will that influence the refs? Will that influence the players? Will Patrick Mahomes have to use a silent count at this supposedly neutral venue? So this allows us to tell a story that is more in line with our brand and the experience of being at a live event. And it's way more interesting, in our opinion, than just ticket prices. And so it's a little hard to see the text of the article, but the very first words of that sentence are according to Vivid Seats, with a link back to our page. So this is an article about the biggest live event in football. This is an article where our competitors are not mentioned, and we are cited in the very first line. So when you think about, again, SEO in this EAT era, think about authority, being mentioned by a top publication is really nice. And then we, in general, like to help publishers tell stories with our data. This is a map of MLB fandom across the state of New York. This is a map that our engineering team spent a grand total of 0 minutes on. This is a map that the publisher created using our data. So we empowered them to tell a story about fandom, about MLB fans and patterns, and where do Yankees fans live compared to Red Sox fans, compared to Mets fans. This is our data. This is a story about the passion of baseball, fan bases, teams, going to games, and this is using our data. And this is what this sort of data looks like on broadcast.
It's great news, and people keep asking, will there be more Chiefs fans or Eagles fans in the stadium? According to Vivid Seats, 62% of the crowd at State Farm Stadium projected to be rooting for the Eagles, compared to 38% for the Chiefs. The team with the crowd advantage has won 6 of the last 7 Super Bowls.
Pretty cool. So when ESPN visualizes that data, it looks amazing like that. When CBS in a smaller market or some local TV outlet, it might be a pie chart or a small pictogram, not quite as visually impressive as that, but still really cool for us. Again, brand, PR, authority. And we found that telling stories with our data can enhance existing partnerships and help forge new partnerships. So we once did a data-driven story with Capital One. Capital One has data on all sorts of data because they're a credit card company, but they helped us identify the top genre of food in different cities. And with our data on theater, we knew the top Broadway show in different cities. So we partnered with an existing partner on the data front to create this content piece, Top Date Night, in different US cities, and earn press and earn pickup and cement our authority on theater and going out. And then this is a project we did with Hopper around the Super Bowl. Hopper is a really awesome travel site. They have data on hotels. They have data on flights and travel. They do not have crowd projection data or Super Bowl ticket price data. We take our data, we take their data. We did not have an existing partnership before this, but what I found in telling data-driven stories, you sort of attract people who are also open and progressive with telling stories with data. So we put out this great Super Bowl release that tells you, hey, this is what tickets cost, this is what the game's gonna be like, this is where to get your flight, this is where to get your hotel, the best rates. Really comprehensive data story that got really nice pickup, and again, associated us with the biggest football game on the planet. Working with our email team around the Super Bowl and fan forecast, our crowd projection data gave us an angle to engage with our users, with our customers, around a game that they may not be interested in. Like if your teams are not playing in the Super Bowl, you're likely not going to be shopping for Super Bowl tickets, but you might be interested in what the crowd's going to be like. And if you're playing daily fantasy sports and you're making picks, like it might be helpful to know, wow, like the Eagles are going to have more fans there. Again, can that impact the crowd? Maybe I'll pick Jalen Hurts in a daily fantasy sports game. So engaging with our email list around this data-driven content has kind of paved the way for that collaboration. And then social and search. We've heard this a lot already today on a number of different topics, but the idea that, again, our data insights on the search front can help drive success on social. So our fan forecast data created a really engaging post on Twitter around the NHL playoffs last year when we had data showing that the New York Rangers were going to have a really strong presence on the road, I think in Carolina against the Hurricanes. But when you think about, again, the importance of working and collaborating with social, if you go to them and say, hey, we have interesting data nuggets that will play well on social, that will drive engagement, that's a pretty attractive proposition for the social team. And this also led to PR pickup. So this tweet was cited in a New York Post story. Our competitors were not in that story. And I think in general, like there are a lot of ways that search and social can kind of support one another. So on our end, when we see kind of these trends, like a lot of people from Georgia coming to Notre Dame Stadium, we can flag that for our social team. Is that something we want to do a post on? Do we want to engage with people? Is that a tweet we want to send? Is that an Instagram story? Whatever that might be. Like, hey, here's a trend we're seeing on search. How can it benefit us on social? How can we empower you to engage with our followings with interesting data? And then on the social side, like things break on social media before they're ever in any SEO keyword tool. So if some tailor-made athletes like Rory McIlroy or Tiger Woods announced that they were going to be joining the golf outing today in the afternoon, and that was a ticketed event, like ticket prices would spike. We would not know about it, but our social team would flag it probably and say, hey, this tweet just put out, Tiger Woods is golfing in Charleston today. And then how would we action on that on the search front? So I think in general, there are a lot of ways where search professionals will be working more closely with social professionals, especially in these mediums. YouTube, TikTok, Reddit, we've talked about it already today. Creative and search. On the link building side of SEO, I think there's been this kind of false dichotomy of, is this a data campaign or is this a creative campaign? So you think of like some data campaigns, NerdWallet, Wallet Hub. This is the 50 best metros for golf fans across the US. Or creative campaigns. This is every great PGA golf course reimagined with Legos. Some just beautiful kind of creative campaign. With data-driven storytelling and data-driven content, you can have the best of both worlds. You can empower your creative teams to tell visually stunning stories with data. So here's how that looks when our creative team visualizes our data. This is the basketball version. So if I had to visualize that, that would be a pie chart in Excel. You put this in the hands of really talented creative professionals, and it's awesome. It's never been easier to tell stories with data. I don't know if any of you have ever dabbled with Flourish. Flourish is a tool that allows you to take a spreadsheet, enter it in, and change different templates that are beautiful, immersive, like D3 library visualizations, interactivity, movement. It's really phenomenal. And then Infogram is another tool that allows you to build kind of interactive infographics. And I think about like 10 years ago, everything was an infographic, like how to boil water, here's an infographic. And that was a kind of link building play. Infogram has really elevated the infographic game where, again, you can take your data, you can make it interactive with very little kind of engineering resources. And Flow is an AR data visualization tool. Stop me later. I will show you some really cool things that we can do with AR data viz. And then kind of pulling it all together, the landscape of data savviness in this country, I think, is only continuing to improve. So this is a chart of subscriber growth in the subreddit Data is Beautiful. Has anyone ever seen or checked out Data is Beautiful? It's awesome. People are so talented. People are great with visualizing data. It's grown rapidly, and I think one of the reasons why it's grown is that seminal moments of American culture have been infused with data visualization. So I think about like the early days of COVID and understanding what's happening with COVID. What does this mean? How is this growing? Like I can't tell you how many different bar charts, how many different graphics, data visualizations I saw that helped me understand the growth of COVID. The election, right? Looking at maps, looking at visualizations, county level, red, blue, shaded, flipped. These things, I think, help people better understand how data can be visualized beautifully and helps us understand stories through the lens of data. And so this is the evolving landscape of being able to tell stories with data. Previously, if we wanted to do a data story, it would be a request to a business analyst. It would be get that data, maybe take it to an engineer, ask if we can borrow some time on the side to create this, whatever data viz we wanted. Everything has changed where you can access data more easily now. We use tools like Looker, Snowflake. We can get data, we can visualize it without any engineering resources, and we can very quickly turn around compelling stories. And I think in the future, you're gonna see more, you're just gonna see more data stories from brands and from publishers. And so the results when we're telling stories with data around big sporting events like the Super Bowl, it's paid off in the SERP, right? So this is like on the SEO side, this is what we're really keyed in on our rankings. We're fortunate enough to rank really well right now for Super Bowl tickets. And then on Bard, it's a little hard to see, a little blurry, but this is a query about asking where do I buy NFL tickets, and Vivid Seats is cited. One of the really interesting things too about kind of this Bard era is we've published data studies on our blog that have been picked up in Bard. So it's not just when we're cited by the media, it's data storytelling that we are owning from start to finish, posting on our site. Google is picking that up and citing that in answers about these questions. And we kind of did this around women's Final Four. We took data around our college basketball sales for NCAA women's, visualized it in a fan map, and kind of had that whole loop of quickly getting the data, visualizing it easily without any engineering resources, giving it to our social team. It plays well on social, pitching it to broadcast, getting it on TV, getting it picked up in stories in the press. So we're cited in the media about NCAA Women's Final Four. And then hopefully, as of today, we're still ranking well for Women's Final Four tickets. And yeah, that's it. So thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Stephen? Do they? No. I was actually wondering though, when you're talking about this data creative, are there certain channels that it works better on? Like where are you seeing the best results in terms of driving it from that data angle?
I think PR is probably the most successful channel where we're really excelling at data storytelling, and then social. Like it plays well on different social channels.
How is creative? Isn't all creative based on data in a sense, or data? But in terms of, I guess I'm just trying to how do you differentiate it? Because obviously there is a big difference, but I'm just curious on your end.
So I guess this is more public data storytelling. Like this is less of like we're using data to inform what we're going to post, which is great, and we do that as well. This is more we are going to take data and make it the post, make it the story, engage with people about the data, as opposed to we're using data to inform what, when, how we should post.
Cool. All right. Well, everyone, give Stephen another big round of applause. Thank you, Stephen.